Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Matt. We talk about movies on this show, and on this episode, we are going to talk about War for the Planet of the Apes, which is the third and, well, final part of the trilogy. I mean, there could be more Apes movies, but certainly
Yeah,
this is the capper on what it does definitely feel like a trilogy.
definitely.
Me and Connor recently reviewed Rise and Dawn. We went back and looked at them again for Influx, so you can check those out as well. I'll make sure there's a link in the corner about nowish that way. And we're going to talk about War, which we went and see. We'll start spoiler free, of course. Before we go into spoilers, we'll give you a warning about halfway through, and yeah, so we're going to get into it. So I love this series. I was very surprised by Rise when it came out. I was not expecting to love a movie like I did
Yeah.
with the new Apes reboot, and then Dawn was so good that it topped the original film. Dawn's a fantastic film. So
Dawn was one of my favorite movies of that year, bar none. I think it was in my top five.
so
So good.
yeah, it was easily in my top three of that year.
Mhm.
So here we come to the third chapter. Matt Reeves is back again. He directed the second one as well. He's back for this one, and we pick up a couple of years after Dawn. Not too far. It wasn't as big of a jump from what Rise was
No.
to Dawn, but a couple of years later, and I feel like I don't even want to talk about the plot in this spoiler-free section. I
No.
feel like I feel like the plot does so many surprising things so early on that I want to just avoid it completely and just talk about how much we liked it before
hmm
we go into spoilers, so you can get a sense of stuff. So yeah, I loved it. It was great. It was
Yep. That was
amazing.
it. It was a tad darker than I was expecting because the last two had dark moments, but I wouldn't classify them as dark films.
Hmm.
Um, and so based off of the trailer on this one and what I'd seen before, I was expecting it to continue on to that path. And this one went way darker than I was expecting. And usually that's a turn off for me. But man, watching this through my fingers at points sometimes
I
because I care so much for these characters
Yeah, the
over
characters
three movies.
characters are so good. Especially watching the first two again recently and get into
hmm
this third one and like really seeing that development over the three films. Uh, I would agree this is the darkest. I don't know if I would say I didn't expect it though. I feel like it was a natural escalation almost. Not to say there wasn't surprising elements of it because there definitely was, but
Yeah,
it felt like a natural progression through it because Dawn was definitely darker than Rise as well. Like it definitely felt
yeah.
like it was into a more desperate world, and this again felt like no, we're even more apocalyptic. We're even more humanity's at its last, grasp of the planet,
Yeah.
and everything else is going on.
Between this and Logan this year, man, just the darkness of these movies that I really like.
which
It's
is
troubling myself
which,
because I like the light, fun stuff.
which
You
is
know,
funny
Pete
because
likes the dark movies.
what Joe's funny about that though is like Logan and this I would both say share some elements of The
Yeah.
Last of Us, which is a video
Ah,
game
jeez.
that I love, but there's definitely some correlating ideas between those two movies and that game. Like, which I really like. Like, there's because I even joked as I was coming out of this, and I called it The Last of Apes, uh,
Well done, sir.
because I thought, hey, I'm not the only one making puns. There's a pun in this movie itself about,
Yeah.
this isn't a spoiler, but it's, at one point you see some graffiti that says Ape Apocalypse. Or no, it was
Ape apocalypse.
Ape Apocalypse Now, was what it said.
Yeah.
Which, again, there's definitely some imagery inspired from
Oh,
Apocalypse Now. Like,
big time. Like more again. That's where it went to those dark places that I wasn't expecting. And goddamn Matt Reeves. Like I don't know if people on here know that I have a kind of distaste for Batman, but this Matt Reeves doing a Batman movie, goddamn dogs, something that I really want now, especially after this one.
yeah, I have a lot more trust in him after these last two Apes movies. I thought Cloverfield was pretty good. I thought his remake of
Yeah,
Let the Right One In was solid, but it had that weird distaste to it because I'm like, well, I'd rather just watch the original, even if this one is really good.
yeah, that's why I haven't went back and watched that one because of like you have said, and other fans of it were like, well, if you have the original, why remake it?
Yeah, and that's not to say that there's good elements of that movie that are different from the original that he does a great
Mhm.
job with. It's just that if I'm going to watch that story again, I'd always pick the original because there's just a quality to it that I think can't be matched with an American movie.
Yeah,
So I Matt Reeves has done nothing but get better for me, and I think this. And I was really questioning after I watched this. After I got out, I was like, was this on par with Dawn? Was it better than Dawn? Was it weaker than Dawn? And certainly, either way, it wasn't far off. It was fantastic. I came out loving it, but I was like, where does it stand next to it? Like, how do I compare it? Like, do I say, oh, this is he's capped it? It's even better. And here's where I came down on this. Right, I think Dawn is maybe slightly stronger from a commentary point of view. There's a lot of social commentary in Dawn. There's some social commentary in this as well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Dawn definitely has the most commentary of the three movies, easily. And I think that from that perspective, Dawn wins out. However, I think War is the most emotional and the most character affecting movie of the three. And as a result, I think it just comes down to which one of those two things do you appreciate more. I appreciate both, but here's something Dawn didn't do. Dawn didn't make me have man tears 3 times. War did.
Yeah. Yep. I agree there. And I agree with a lot of the same sentiment. I do like Dawn a little bit more, but I think it's because of I don't like to feel bad watching movies.
Yeah, but Matt, if you remember right, Dawn, you have that feeling in the pit of your stomach the whole time that this is not going to work out. So it's not even like Dawn's a chewy time, because it's not.
No, I know, and I'm not saying that, but compared to this one, like you said, I didn't man cry, and you have the human characters in that one too. I think are even though some of them are a bitter pill, they still go down all right. Here it is completely affecting in the opposite direction. Like, you're just like, oh man. Although Woody Harrelson's so good, that guy.
Do you know what I think is really interesting as well, looking at the progression of the movies as you go through the three of them, is I think the first movie, Caesar, I would argue, still the protagonist, but it's definitely got another human main character, and it's definitely weighed so that it's like, I'd say, I don't know, 60% humans, 40% Caesar, right? If you counted it up, say, right. Dawn, obviously, it's more towards the apes. Caesar's definitely the main character, but we still have this main human character and his family is definitely, and it's maybe 60% Caesar, 40% main human character. This one, it's like, no, this is Caesar's movie. He is the lead. He's the lead. Sure, we've got a human antagonist, certainly, but he is. It's not like he's got his own plot scenes where you see him doing stuff. Everything we see of him is from how it affects Caesar's plot. There's no... Like, it feels like we've totally went from, okay, we're introducing the apes slowly, half apes, this is all apes, this is Caesar's story completely through and through, and I think it's fascinating to watch that. And maybe part of that is because we had to develop the CG to make it look good enough in the first one, and as we've went through it, we've gotten more confident, and it's gotten better, and obviously, I mean, it's jaw-dropping, honestly.
There's times in this one where you go, how'd they get the gorilla to walk like that? And then remember, oh no, he's CG.
I think for me, there's a moment early on where Maurice and Caesar are just having a conversation, but it's been raining, so they're wet, and the fur just looks wet, and it just looks real. It looks photoreal. It's insane.
Maurice's face is photorealistic. Like, it looks like they took an orangutan and filmed the orangutan, not that they mocapped him. And, like, it's ridiculous. And Weta deserves it's still Weta that does the effects,
I think so.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
They deserve it. Serkis deserves it. If he doesn't get a nomination, I'm going to riot. I'm going to burn something down. Because this dude works so hard. And you believe that that's an ape. Like, there's not even there's a human behind that at all. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, Dawn was already, like, Rise was fantastic in terms of effects. Dawn was jaw-dropping. We watched obviously, again, we watched it recently. And watching it again, I still thought it was jaw-dropping. There was 1 or 2 moments, like, it's like, out of like all the effect shots in that movie, which is a lot of the movie, there's like 1 or 2 moments where it's like, okay, it's not quite photo. I think the way I phrased it on the Influx review is, it's usually at 100%, and there's a couple of scenes where, okay, it's maybe dipped to about 80%.
Yeah.
Kind of idea.
And Dawn, they do some cool stuff with the fire and stuff with the CG that I don't think they were quite up to, but good on them for trying. Here, though, like with the snow and the rain, like you already mentioned.
Yeah.
Even the shots on the beach with the sand, it's like, well, yeah, there's people standing there, but not quite the same. Just everything gels perfectly.
That was a nice homage to the original film as well. Actually, it's not a spoiler to say there's scenes on the beach, because it's just them riding on the horses on the beach. But whenever you see those scenes, it's very evocative of some of those moments in the original film, even if it's not actually anything like it in terms of plot or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just no. You remember him riding the horse on the beach, and this is kind of that similar idea, and it's really cool. So this is definitely a hard hitting film. It is an emotional film. I think and that's another point as well, is like the human characters have changed each movie. Like they've referenced the past human characters, but they've changed each movie. It's Caesar, it's Maurice, it's Rocket, and then obviously introduced in the second movie we had Caesar's son and we had his wife introduced. But it's those characters who have went through the movies. Those are if you compare it to say Star Wars as a trilogy, that's our Han Solo and Leia, like that have went through the movies kind of idea. Rocket, Maurice, and obviously Caesar has been the main one. So I think that's fascinating as well, is that these main characters are the apes throughout the whole thing, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So, it's fantastic. Do not hesitate. Go see it. I want to get into spoilers because I feel like we can't talk about anything without spoilers, to be honest. Surprising things happen very early on. The motivation for the plot is very early on. It's very not what I was expecting. So, by all means, go see War of the Apes. You will not regret it. So, full spoilers from this point on for War for the Planet of the Apes. You have been warned. I think first thing I want to say is I liked how the start. It starts on the humans in this one, and it's like you see all the things written on their helmets, and it's like it's like Full Metal Jacket where it says like Monkey Killer and various other things like that on their helmets. And then it leads in, and it sets up the idea that this is going to be more of a combat movie because there's these soldiers and they're hunting the apes, and the apes fight back, and there's casualties and all the rest of it. And it sets up the idea that Caesar is still trying to be peaceful because he sends these survivors back. He's like, no, go and tell your colonel, tell your superior that we don't want a war, just stay away from us, and like this is it, like we can just end this now, no more killing, easy. And that, of course, the colonel, who we don't see yet, and I like this as well, is they keep Woody Harrelson off screen until a very specific moment. You hear his voice briefly over the radio, but that's it. And we see the civilization that Caesar and his ape, communities built. We see Maurice is still a big part of society. We see that Caesar's son, Blue Eyes, is going out on missions now. He's coming back with Rocket. It was like, all right, we think we've found a new home beyond the desert. They're going to travel there, get away from the humans, and it's all kind of hopeful and whatever. We also learn that Caesar's baby, who's called Cornelius, of course, which is a reference to the original movie because there's a character in that called Cornelius. He's a little bit bigger. He's not big yet. He's still a kid. He's still a small.
He's still a baby.
Yeah. He's like a toddler, essentially, to put it in human terms. And we see that Blue Eyes has got a girlfriend called Lake. That he cares for.
Here's the thing. You buy all of these instantly because the apes have the society, and it's heart-wrenching to see the attack when they just start blowing it up, and, you kind of see the aftermath and them mourning their dead, and like, they are just trying to be peaceful. They're trying to build I don't know how much of the humans are left after Dawn, because it looked pretty bad then. But it's almost like they're trying to build their own society outside of the humans, where it's close enough, but it's still very ape.
Yeah, I think there's probably still a decent amount of humans left, but the idea that whoever survived all correlated together into, like, clumps.
Yeah.
So a lot of the country's kind of desolate because, like, let's say 5% of people survived, so they all got together in one city. Kind of idea, and the rest of the country's kind of just desolate because of that.
And then you kind of have the apes doing the same, not the other survivors, but they're all in this one area, and they are minding their own business.
Yeah, although because they find a character later on, Bad Ape, who is also smart, they ponder how many more of us are there out there. They maybe sets up the idea that one day, if it is a planet of apes, it's because there is more out there. And because
he mentions where Bad Ape comes from, and all that, and that makes Caesar go, oh, well, if there's him, then there has to be more out there, because the virus spread. Yeah. So the virus spread to the humans, then it had to spread to the apes too. And I like that.
Yeah, Bad Ape, I didn't know was played by Steve Zahn. I was delighted to see that when I pulled up the IMDb. That's pretty cool. We'll get to him later, obviously, but no. So, yeah, the big traumatic thing, of course, so they're making plans to move soon, and they go to sleep, and it's that night, Caesar wakes up, and he sees, like, some green lasers, like, descending in the water, because they've got, like, a waterfall, like, in front of them, and he finds the cord, and they go hunting for the intruders. Like, he gets some of the other apes together, and they go hunting. And you hear, once they've taken out one of the soldiers, you hear over the radio, oh, we've got Kong. That's their code name for Caesar's Kong.
Yeah.
And Caesar, and there's this sinking feeling that you're like, oh no, who did he actually kill? Because we know Caesar's okay, and Caesar gets to where his family was, and Woody Harrelson's there. He turns around, he's got the war paint on, and he looks utterly demonic. Honestly, like the way he's filmed,
he doesn't look like a human. He looks like a monster.
Again, it's this idea that humanity is more than just like biology. It's like it's a quality rather than a physical thing. And Caesar looks over, and his wife and Blue Eyes are dead. They're killed, and obviously he tries to attack immediately. But this entire scene, because it goes into slow motion, all the sound kind of drips away, and it is so emotional. And honestly, from this moment to the following scenes where all the way up to, because they eventually decide to all move because the humans know where they are now, so they have to all leave.
Yeah.
And then Caesar decides, I'm not going with you, I'm going after him. This is personal. Which, I am so impressed. I did not know that this movie was him wanting revenge. Because we never got that from the trailers. They kept that so secret. It was so good.
It was kind of like a Clint Eastwood movie. Like, not quite Unforgiven, but like, he's just like, no.
Kinda, yeah.
Go ahead, I'm dealing with this. I might not make it back.
Yeah. And
like, he's resigned to, I'm taking these guys out.
From the moment that you kind of get that feeling where you realise what's happened, that his wife and son are dead. Now, his other son, Cornelius, is fine. Lake, he actually gives him a Lake to look after, which again, so it's a really nice little thing for her character. Where it sets up that he has a bond with her because of the relationship she had with his son. But from the moment you realise what's happened to the moment where Maurice and Rocket, and then I didn't quite catch the gorilla's name, but it was a gorilla as well. Luca, there you go. Those three who are like his confidants from the last movie. In fact, two of them were from the first movie as well. Those three coming up behind him and him turning around and them saying, "We're not, we're going with you. We're keeping you safe. I'm coming to make sure you come back." That camaraderie, like. From those two moments all the way up till that moment, I had a tear in my eye, and I think it was the moment where they said, "We're not letting you go alone," where it finally went down the cheek. Where I was like, I was kind of blubbery for the whole time, and then it was like, there's something about camaraderie and not letting them go alone that set me off.
Well, and also they're all different kinds of apes. You have Maurice, who's an orangutan. I mean, Rocket's a chimp, but like Caesar, and then you have the gorilla. So they're showing unity. In the face of all of this, on top of it, on a deeper level. It
hit me so hard, and again, that they're so developed characters. Like in the last movie, Maurice was like the school teacher. So when they find the little girl, and we're in spoilers, so I can say her name. When they find Nova, who eventually turns out to be Nova, who was in the original movie, she was the woman that Charlton Heston kind of has the love interest, I guess.
Partners up with,
But like when they find her and like Caesar's like, yeah, we're going to kill someone, we can't really take her with. But Maurice is like, no, if we leave her here, she'll die. I can't leave her. It's like you get like Caesar a week ago would not have made that choice, but obviously he's full on revenge right now. We know Caesar's a good person, and again, I use that word person loosely, but you know what I mean by that. He's a good ape. He's a good person because I think that's the funny thing about this movie is because to us, intelligent life is only human beings. All of our terms for being a good person all relate to humanity. They all relate to, you're a good man, you're a good woman, you're a good person.
Well, yeah, he has good character. Like you could just chalk up to that because again, Koba wanted war, and so you see throughout this that he keeps having visions of Koba from the last movie. As he gets more and more consumed with revenge, it's like his inner struggle of not becoming Koba. Yeah,
I loved that. I loved how he wants revenge because this horrific thing's happened. And you don't even blame him. You kind of want him to get revenge because this thing's horrific.
Oh, I'm rooting. So you know how nasty chimp attacks are. Like we've all seen the people with their faces ripped off and whatnot. Like I was hoping Woody Harrelson's getting his face ripped off. Like that was the whole movie. I'm on Team Apes.
Oh yeah, I'm on Team Apes. There's not a question. Like, they are the innocent characters. They are the victimized characters, and I guess even more extreme as the movie goes on. But you get that Caesar's struggling with this inner turmoil. Where he was a good person. He's trying to still be a good person, but he is consumed with this revenge, and it's that weighing on his mind. And there's that moment I think around this point of the movie where I realised that's what this movie's about. It's about Caesar. It's not about just the apes surviving the human beings, because obviously that's a big part of obviously on the surface that's the plot. It's the apes having to survive these bad humans and the military and this crazy colonel. But at its core, it's not just about surviving. It's about being worthy of survival. It's like, is it worth surviving if I just become the bad thing that the humans think we are? And that's what the war is.
Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, mankind's ape too. I mean, we're primates, and so
Hmm.
it's this war that is, well, we can become like them or we can become better. And Caesar deep down wants to be better. That's why he has this inner struggle against the revenge. But I mean, his family was murdered. Like it wasn't like I mean, it's a tragedy, but not in that sense. They were targeted,
Yeah.
and
Actually, if I'm going to like maybe just play the devil's advocate and maybe give it a
Mhm.
criticism, is that I do think his family's death only works if you've seen the other movies. I feel like if you'd committed this on its
yeah,
own, that wouldn't have had the impact, and that's fair. But this is the final part of a trilogy. It's just, but I feel like I have to just point that out. If I'm being critical,
yeah.
that
No,
is the one
you're
thing I'd
you're
say.
absolutely right,
Yeah.
and the fact that we're such big fans of this trilogy, it does hit for us,
Yeah,
and
this is part three of a saga, so I think that's very
yeah,
important here. It's not.
exactly.
I think most of it works as a standalone movie. I think like if you compare it to like you say Unforgiven or something like that, where it's
Yeah,
the characters or any revenge story, it works in that point. But I don't think that initial thing would be as hurtful to you. It wouldn't impact you as much. The actual story after that of him going on this revenge would work well enough, I think.
yeah,
But that opening
yeah.
tragedy wouldn't have
Well,
the same weight to
eh,
it.
what's that one? The Charles Bronson movie where
Death Wish.
Death Wish. It's kind of Caesar's Death Wish here as he's on this mission, and it's kind of Maurice and Rocket and Luca that are constantly talking him down because he just wants to keep moving, but they're like, well, no, you're a strategist. You're better than this.
Yeah, well, Joe,
Let's
I
think
love about
this
that.
out.
It's this idea that they know he's kind of gone off the deep end a little bit, but they're going to
Hmm.
stick with him to make sure he's okay because of his family, and there's a real heart to
Yeah.
it, which I really love. That even if they
Well, and then
disagree with what he's doing overall, they're going to make sure they're
yeah,
there to keep him in check, kind of idea. So
yeah, and then you even have some of Koba's followers falling in with the human bad guys, and that to me hurt me almost as bad because they spray paint donkey on them, and they treat them like slaves, and oh man, it bothered me so much, and I
I
think
mean,
that's the point.
they treat them like slaves. They actually make the rest of the apes actual slaves. Like that.
Yeah.
It's not even a simile or anything like that. It's like they full
Well, no,
on
no,
they're
no.
slaves. They're being whipped to perform, whipped to work.
Yeah.
Later on in the movie, and so that's I think I certainly wasn't expecting like the second half of the movie to all take place in this one camp, which
No.
definitely surprised me.
Yeah, me too.
Because when they get there and Caesar sees, oh shit, all of these apes have been kidnapped. Our whole tribe who was migrating have been captured. They're being treated as slaves. His own child is there. And the movie gets goddamn depressing because it turns kind of into kind of like Bridge and Let River Kwai or other movies like that where you've got this
Yeah.
captive main character who is being whipped. He's trying to break him. The colonel wants to break him, and there's those great scenes where the other ape who was struggling to work was getting whipped, and Caesar just yells out, "Leave him!" And
Yeah.
he gets taken up to the colonel, and he gets whipped in front of him, but Caesar does not give. And it's actually the rest of the apes because he says, Caesar, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to count to 5 if you don't tell them to start working again. I'm going to kill you because he's the leader. He inspires the rest of them.
And
And Caesar, presses his head against a gun, like he is like full on, like you
it's
do
that
it, you
scene
pussy.
that you see in the trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then it's Lake that is like, well, we can't let him die.
yeah, they all do it to save him. Yeah,
Yeah. And so again, the unity of the apes. Like, yeah, they're in this bad situation, but they're going to be in it together, and that's how they got to get through this. Like, Caesar can't become a martyr as much as he kind of wants to be. He's far too important for them to become a martyr, and because you have him, he goes in that scene where he sees them tied to like the crosses. They're more like X's, but
yeah,
he's going into the camp to basically go free everybody. Like it's going to be that easy, and he sees these big gigantic X's in the snow, and he turns around and there's apes, there's chimpanzees like tied to him,
Well,
left to the
actually,
elements.
I think at that point, that's when he learns that his tribe was taken. Because I think at that
Yeah.
point, he's just ready to storm in to kill him and die.
Yeah, that's right. That's
He-
right. He's gonna go in and kill.
Yeah, he's on like a tirade. He doesn't care that he's going to die
Yeah.
right after it. He's just in there to kill the colonel, and then he sees the other
That's
apes, and
right.
he's like, "Oh shit, this isn't that simple. It's not that easy. There's more to
Right.
this." Like, and Hope gets lost, and there's that obviously that great scene where Rocket gets captured to save him as well. He comes into
Yeah.
He like throws in the towel.
Great.
And it leaves just Maurice and Bad Ape. And what I thought was funny as well is Bad Ape. There's this cool thing where Bad Ape can speak but can't do sign language. Nova can't do either. She's learning a little bit of sign language from Maurice, and Maurice can do sign language. Now, obviously, eventually he speaks a little bit at the end of the movie, which I thought was cool. In fact, I love that his first word is her name. Like he says, "Oh, you're going to be called Nova," which he gets from the old Chevy Nova plate. But so let's talk about Nova. Let's talk about what she does to this movie. How important she is to this, because I think obviously there's a lot of heartwarming stuff. It really sets up the idea. The gorilla, what's his name again?
Luca.
You have that gorgeous. It's after they meet Bad Ape at this sort of ski resort, and there's that great scene with the tree blossoming, and he puts the little flower in her hair. And it's this really emotional moment. And what I think works so well is because obviously the gorillas just naturally look a bit more intimidating because they're bigger, they're gruffer.
Oh, yeah. They're these big, scary creatures that are actually quite gentle if you don't provoke them.
Yeah, and what I love about it is we've seen Maurice has always had a thing with the kids. Like, he's always been very friendly with children, including the humans, because he was friendly with the son from the last one as well.
Yeah, and I think that's because he comes from a circus, so he's more used to humans, and that's how he learned sign language. But yeah, so you see Luca have that moment.
So and I think that's more heartwarming because you've never seen him be like that. So you see, like, oh, it's not just Maurice. There's a connection that's forming between these characters, and
good character.
You know what? Matt Reeves is a cruel bastard because he does that, and then like 2 scenes later, that's when he dies, and
that's when I kind of knew Luca had it coming because he gets this nice moment, and that's where my first tears came. Was when she puts the flower in his ear.
Yeah, it's like, so great. Man. It's so good. But it's this innocence, and it's this reminder, I think, for Caesar as well, that remember that not all people are like this. Everyone is different. Not everyone thinks the same way. And just because the Colonel's evil, and because of that, like, there's an innocence that needs to be protected and fought for. And obviously, I think there's a moment in this movie, like, everything's so bad. Like, look at dies. Like, Caesar gets captured, Rocket gets captured. It all feels so bad. And while Caesar does argue enough to get the rest of the apes fed and water, he doesn't get any. He's in the cage on his own. He's on his own. He might die if he doesn't get eat before the morning. Like, there's even a point where the Colonel says, if he's still alive in the morning, put him to work. But he probably won't. It feels like everything's so bad, and it's at that point where she just walks into this camp undetected because no one's like noticing her, no one's paying attention.
Yeah.
And she gives Caesar her little doll, and she just makes him feel better. And then the other apes like call her over and give her some food and water to give to Caesar. Well, she's already given water because she had the bucket, but she goes over and gets some food and brings it back. And the entire thing, there's this beautiful music playing, and it's just this little moment of, like, even as dark as things are, as dark as this entire movie's been, there's this moment of just absolute hope where this is a human being giving you what you need to survive. Because remember, the reason why he's even in the position he's in is because a good human being raised him and taught him right from wrong and all these things in the first movie. It just, she is kind of the heart. I mean, there's a lot of heart anyway, but she is this new, fresh innocence in this film. Yeah,
she's the hope for the future, that there, because when we meet her, we find out she can't talk. And so it's a little troubling, but we see who we assume is her dad. He raises his gun, so he gets killed. That's why she ends up going with them. And as we go, we find out why she can't talk, and it's becoming a problem. And it's kind of what ramps up Woody Harrelson's Colonel.
What's funny about this, actually, is that when we learned she couldn't talk, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's a cool touch.
Well, she's mute. Yeah,
it's mute. And it never actually occurred to me that this is tying into one of the plot things in the first movie, and the original film, I mean. Because they find out some other people can't talk. I'm like, oh, the humans are starting to not speak. This is because in the original Planet of the Apes, the humans can't speak.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's where this is going, and that's interesting. And here's one of my things, though, right? So obviously they've set up, okay, there's a Nova, Cornelius is going to be a character in the Apes, and they've set up a bunch of things that kind of line up with the original film. I don't think it actually lines up with the actual original movie, though. I feel like, okay, it's like setting up a version of what that's going to be, but not really.
Yeah.
And here's my reasoning for that.
It can't.
One of it, just from terms of years, it can't, but it can't to me because I can't believe that, in the aftermath of this movie, that that Caesar, what he's built, and then who he's left behind. We're doing spoilers. Caesar dies.
To lead.
He's left Maurice there. He's left his son there. He's left Bad Ape. I can't. And given how kind they are to Nova, and given their actual stance with the humans, I can't believe for a second that the world that this Caesar has prepared and built is going to treat human beings the way they're treated in that original film. I can't believe it.
I can't either, and that's what kind of was breaking my brain, trying to connect this to the original.
And you can't. You shouldn't. It's not meant to.
Yeah, you can't, because I mean, with the whole time travel and wormhole and all this and the Statue of Liberty, it doesn't make any sense. So if they are going forward, I can see these being about ape society coming into conflict with other apes, because not all of them are Caesar. Right? I mean, we've seen Koba and some of these others.
Yeah, I could see
that are more cruel.
I could see them doing a plot where like an astronaut comes back after like he's been gone for 20 years and he comes back and it's like, oh shit. So they kind of have their version if they wanted to do something like that. But it's like, obviously it can't have the twist because we know it's on Earth. Like that's been the whole story the whole time. But yeah, I can't buy that they'll treat human beings like that. At least not without some evil dictator coming into power and changing everything. Because I think ultimately, as dark as this movie is, there's a hope to it. There's a hopefulness to it that we can become better. And it doesn't matter that this is another species. The whole thing can be an analogy for the human race in general. It is, do not treat someone who's different differently. It's like, work to a better future. Don't be scared of change. Don't be scared of these things. It's very... It's good science fiction at its core because of all these ideas.
And it's the Colonel's character. He's driven by fear. And fear can make you do a lot of things, but what he does, it completely dehumanizes him. Like we said the first time you see him, he's like a monster.
Yeah.
And
Caesar is more of a human than the Colonel will ever be. And I mean that purely in the idea of character, not... I think that's...
biology.
Yeah, that's a big thing here, is that I think we have to accept that saying you're a good man is not anything to do with actually being a human being.
No. And
good women, obviously, as well, to go along with that.
But yeah, so we get that Nova, and that's the mutated ape virus. It's starting to affect humans and basically rendering them where they can't talk and driving them into a more primitive state. And that's what's driving the Colonel.
And to be fair, the primitive state thing is just his speculation.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to, because he kills his own son because the son comes down with it.
Yeah, because there's no indication... from Nova, at least in this movie, I don't think there is, that she's actually dumber than other human beings. It's just it's just that she can't speak. Yeah.
But with Maurice, she can learn still. Therefore, she's not primitive.
Yeah.
So
she learns how to say thirsty.
Yeah, she learns how to say thirsty. She knows how to say good ape or an ape together. And it feels like not that she's going to be a pillar, but she's going to be a part of the society.
Yeah, she even asks Maurice at the end if she's an ape. At one point, she says, "Am I ape?" I think it's when she gets named. She asks that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Bad Ape a little bit. He's really funny. He's a little adorable dude.
Well needed levity throughout the darkness of the movies, because some of it is clown-esque, but I think we need that. Like when he looks backwards through the binoculars, he's like, "Why are they so tiny?" And then I think Rocket grabs him and turns them around for him.
Yeah, I think my audience was they were so into for the ride at this point. Like they were hanging every single thing. Every single thing he did that was funny was getting big laughs. Obviously, when you first see him in his clothes, because he's a lot balder than the other apes, so he's got like a little jacket and he's got a hat on and he's all these things. It's really good stuff. He's a really fun character.
And he came from a zoo, so he knows more about people. That's why I think he can talk so well, because he spent a lot of time around them, and that's how he gets his name, because he constantly was being told bad ape because he wouldn't do things properly or right. And man, his story too about being alone because apes died, humans died.
Yeah.
And he's living in the ski resort all by himself and has to, struggle to make meat. He's almost like an old hermit, But yeah, he's so funny throughout this because his reactions to things. He was on, for as great as Serkis was, I feel like the opposite end for the comedy and doing what he needs to do. Zahn's just as good.
I think one of the things that I do love about this, we talked about this being kind of a revenge story and how it's very personal, it's close to Caesar. There was a scene where they go to Winters, this white-haired gorilla who's betrayed them, and they go to question him. They sneak into this human camp and they And what I loved about this scene was like, this is just like a scene from another movie. Like, these could be human beings that are like, there's no difference to this. Like, he's come here to question him because he's a traitor, and the way like Caesar steps out of the shadows, and see, whenever he looks that gruff face, especially when he's walking around with the shotgun, this is going to be a really weird comparison to make, but he was really reminding me of Arnold Schwarzenegger at times. The way he was standing with a shotgun, he had that kind of like gruff, like kind of like not smirk, but like.
Yeah,
like, you know, he's angry. It was
he's irritated.
Yeah, it was reminding me of Arnold Schwarzenegger holding a shotgun for some reason. Maybe it's because Arnold's got like the big jawline. Maybe that's why it's.
Well, it's the jawline and probably the build of the shoulders.
Yeah,
because like
I think that'll be it.
The way he carries himself is very, you know. So yeah, no, I get that. Now that I mean, I didn't think of that, but I can see it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It occurred to me. But I love how this story plays out the exact same way if it's just other humans. It wouldn't matter. It'd be the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's good about it.
Well, yeah, and they have to take Winter out because even though he's a traitor, he's still basically trying to sell them out even more as they have him surrounded. You know, and it's a tragedy that they have to take out one of their own because of this. You know.
Yeah, and obviously that weighs on Caesar's mind. That's like why he starts getting these dreams of Koba and all that. I did like the twist that humanity's not completely screwed either. Like, because they keep talking about these other soldiers are coming to join the colonel, and it turns out that they're not coming to actually join him. They're coming to kill him because he's crazy and he's killing his own people for getting sick.
Yep.
And I like that. I like that he's a bad example of a human being, and Caesar's smart enough to figure that out, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So it's good stuff. I really like the colonel's ending. Like because obviously Caesar goes up. Like they've done their great escape, but they've been digging underneath, and like Maurice and Bad Ape and Nova have been helping getting them out from the outside underneath and all that. And it's all good stuff. But like Caesar, like, no, I'm going to confront the colonel. I have to confront him. And he goes up there, and he goes in, and the colonel can't speak. And it's this final thing where Caesar like has the chance to kill him, and he decides not to take it. Now the colonel ends up killing himself, but that's kind of like it's kind of just. It's like, oh, you're a pathetic individual who had to do this to yourself at the end. Because we know that he killed his own son for getting sick and not being able to speak. Like, that's how much he believes in this.
And he's been killing his own people because we find the apes found them left to die in the snow, and Caesar has to basically put one out of his misery.
And credit to them for subverting my expectations, because I really thought the crossbow guy was going to side with the apes eventually because he learned that, but he didn't. And
no, because you think the whole time because he's watching the colonel, and not that he's judging, but you get this vibe like, oh, okay, well, yeah, the apes aren't as bad, but no, he hits Caesar at the end.
He's the sort of negative force that hits Caesar at exactly the wrong moment, because Caesar. Like, he sees that, they're fighting the helicopters coming in of these other human beings, and Caesar sees the big gas tank. Oh, the action's incredible in this movie. All of it has weight, all of it has emotion in it, which is the best thing about good action. And he's got these grenades. He's going to like launch the grenade at the leaking gas tank to like sort of like just kill all the
blow up their wall.
Yeah, basically. But he's running with it. He's cocked he's about to cock pull the pin out of the grenade, and he gets hit, and it's just this. And I heard audible gasps in the theater.
Yeah, well, you would have heard me because I did too.
Yeah,
because you see him kind of fumble the throw, and I was like, wait, he can throw. He's an ape, but we've seen him throw stuff. So and then you see the crossbow dude.
Speaking of throwing, when the guy gets the shit thrown at him, and then he's in the cage, he gets thrown it again at him. It's like, oh,
it's funny that as smart as the apes have become, it's still them throwing crap that riles up the human enough to come down.
That's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because they're primitive. Yeah. They're doing it because they know this will taunt them.
Yeah, but it still comes down to that, which cracks me up.
It's a strategic
anyone
choice.
That's been to a zoo, anyone that's been to a zoo knows this. You don't get that close to the ape enclosures just in case, So, and that's what helps them on their escape, is this dude couldn't handle himself. And it's like, well, who's the more primitive one?
Exactly, he gets easily tricked because they just rail him up. It's so easy.
Exactly.
But yeah, so there's that great moment where he doesn't quite get the grenade. And that's when the gorilla, the betrayer, we'll call him Donkey, because, I mean, don't know what to call him.
Yeah,
the donkey gorilla.
I think his name was Red because he has the reddish hair.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But he has been like, there's several times in the movie where you think, oh, maybe he's going to revert back to the apes and help. Because
you can see he kind of hesitates on things.
Yeah, but he keeps
You know?
he keeps out of fear.
Yeah.
He wants to be treated well by the humans, so he kind of offers to be the lapdog. And there's this moment here where he sees like as the train's escaping, some of the soldiers start shooting into the crowd of apes, and he sees this, and he's seeing like other apes being just slaughtered for no reason. And he's helping with the guy who's shooting. He's like, "Get me the grenade launcher," and he turns around and he picks up the grenade launcher. And there's that moment where you can see him questioning it. And then the crossbow guy's about to kill Caesar. He's got him dead to rights, and he just like goes poof in an explosion.
Boom. Yeah.
It's great, and because I mean, the gorilla immediately dies. Like the soldier sees it, turns around, and just shoots him in the head immediately.
Yeah, another troubling moment there because I was just like, no! Like it's weird that I care way more about the apes, even if they're bad apes, than the humans. Like,
it's because he made the right choice. He redeemed himself for a moment.
That's exactly. Again, being a good person has nothing to do with being human.
No, it doesn't.
Ultimately, like he paid for making the right choice.
Just like being a good character in a story has nothing to do with, like, you know. The example I bring up is Brave Little Toaster. If you can watch a movie about a toaster who's sentient, you can you can characterize anything.
Yeah, I mean, true.
So but Caesar gets the explosion off. It causes an avalanche, which not only kills those humans, but kills all the other humans that are coming in as well.
Yeah, the other board, which they have you worry a little bit because it looks like the other soldiers see the apes and start enclosing on them, and then this avalanche happens and the apes jump to the trees. I thought that was a cool scene too, because you see them gripping and racing the snow and clinging on for dear life to the trees. And when it's all said and done and everything settles, the apes are in the trees, and it makes for a really cool visual.
Yeah, and it all ends with them finding a nicer spot, nice lake, where life can thrive. And I love that the final scene is between Maurice and Caesar. It's the two oldest friends in the group. It's obviously it was going to end with Caesar because Caesar's like passing away here at the end, but because the wound and everything he's went through is basically just it's time for him to die. And I love that it's Maurice that's with him in the final moments, because Maurice was the first one that he befriended back in Rise, and it was like a nice closure, nice full circle kind of thing. And he's like, take care of my son, make sure like they know what the right from wrong, and all these other ideas, and and Maurice is like, I'll never let them forget what you've done. And it's this great, well-rounded story, and you see Nova playing with Caesar's son, and it's like, they can coexist. Like this is
the next generation,
much like Caesar's the child kind of both. Like has now that he kind of has like a human child as well. It's kind of this and that again symmetrical full circle idea to it. And it's beautiful stuff.
This trilogy is so good. Which I remember when Rise came out, I was like, I'm not watching that. They're remaking Planet of the Apes. There's no need.
I know.
And then when I finally watched it, I was like, wow, I was dumb.
I know the exact phrase. I always bring this up whenever we talk about it, but the exact phrase I said when I seen the trailer was like, "Who wants this? Who is this for?"
Yeah.
And they came and they proved why this needed this, because this was an artistic choice. There's a story they wanted to tell, and it became a trilogy, and it is one of the best consistent trilogies ever. Now it is in my top 5 trilogies,
Easy.
No question. Like
easy, yeah,
it's fantastic. Like there's not a weak link among them. I mean, Rise is the weakest, sure, but it's still great.
But it's the first, because we know, and I really liked Rise, and then we got Dawn, and then Dawn took it and ran, and then this. I still like Dawn a little bit more, but this is still really great. Like,
for the record, right now, this is my favorite movie of the year, like so far.
Really?
Yeah,
this overtook Baby Driver.
Oh, Baby Driver's not even in my top 5.
Really? Oh man.
Have we talked about this? I think Baby Driver's very good.
Rejected.
But if I'm going to compare them, right? Why you compare Baby Driver to War of the Apes? But
I'm just saying, both. I think I had more fun with Baby Driver. This is in my top 3 right now, easy.
Baby Driver, technical wonder, absolutely, right? But I thought the story in the third act kind of fumbled a little bit. Baby Driver did not make me tear up, not once. I never cared about the romance in that. I mean, it was a fine little basic romance, but I never cared about the romance in that movie. The way that the story and the characters and the turmoil they went through in this movie was...
See, I forget you do this with the emotion thing. You're not sometimes you get technical achievements you really, really enjoy, like Avatar and whatnot. So, I forget that there is an emotional cue that runs through you, like Paris, Texas, which you keep telling me to watch, but...
Oh, Paris, Texas is fucking good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. See, people.
So good.
Uh,
I'm not supposed to swear.
but no, and it makes sense.
I'm not supposed to drop
I'm not
F-bombs,
trying to compare the two.
and I
What's
kind of just
up?
dropped an F-bomb. I didn't mean to, but I did. Oh well. Uh, that's
But
how
no,
much.
and I'm not trying to compare the two because they're such different movies. But uh, the movies that I've seen this year, just the last month, from Baby Driver and Spider Man and The Big Sick and Apes, it's been a really solid 3 weeks.
It has been a
Like,
really solid 3 weeks, and even go back to the start of the year. Split was fantastic. Get Out was
yeah,
great. Um, Wonder Woman was surprisingly really good. You know,
yeah,
we weren't expecting that. It's been a solid.
2017,
2017 is shitting all over 20, and that's not. I mean, there was great movies in 2016, but just in terms of the
yeah.
blockbusters, in terms of the mainstream
Well, even
blockbusters,
Kong, which Kong's a pulpy B movie, you know,
yeah.
still really
Don't get
well
me
done.
wrong. Kong's definitely the lower tier if we're talking about
Yeah.
the. Because I would say Baby Driver's definitely better than Kong. Like this, get things the right way around. But even and again, I'm not like War for the Apes is definitely a better movie. Don't get me wrong. But even
Yeah.
Power Rangers was surprisingly well written compared to what I think anyone was giving it credit for before they seen it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like we're having a really good year for blockbusters, compared to last summer when it was like Independence Day 2 and
Oh God.
whatever else
Don't
was out.
forget, people, I fell asleep 3 times during that movie. And I didn't even go to a late showing. It was the middle of the day. So, yeah.
I just this year's killing it, and I think War is definitely the peak for me so far. I'm not. That said, it could be topped. But all the indie stuff
Yeah.
tends to come out towards the end of the year, and that tends to like sneak in there and take it some of the top spots. But right now, this is my movie at the top of the list for the year. But like I say, it's been a really good. Yeah, sure, we've had The Mummy, which sucked balls, and
Yeah.
we didn't see Transformers, but it probably sucked balls. But it's been a
Because we're smart, Peter. Because we're smart.
But it's a pretty good. Do you know what I thought was funny though? Is a lot of other online reviewers didn't bother reviewing it either. Like I was seeing, like all the other people who usually review them don't this time.
It's like if a place has a shit sandwich on the menu, you don't go eat at that restaurant. Like, that's just it. You know what you're getting in for. Yeah, and if you saw it, I apologize, but
It was like the internet. Did you?
no. I said
All
if
right,
you
okay.
did see it, I'm sorry.
I think. I think.
Why go see Transformers when you can go see War of the Apes?
Oh, of course, but I think
it.
what collectively happened is that people said, okay, we've reviewed 4 of these by now. What could we possibly criticise at this point that we've not already brought up? Like, beyond just reacting to the stupidity of whatever he's put in this new one. Like,
Yeah,
War for the Apes is a smart blockbuster. It's really well made. It's well directed. Performances are fantastic. The script is tight. Like, it is such a tight script.
Yeah.
Everything is set up and paid off, both in terms of the movie as a whole and as the trilogy as a whole. It's emotional. It's well shot. I loved it. This was a knock it out of the park. In terms of, if you're going to call it a blockbuster, which feels like a really weird thing to call it because it is just such a good character story. Your mic is going, Matt. Yeah, fix that. I cannot recommend War for the Planet of the Apes enough. It was phenomenal, and if you love Dawn, it is on par with that.
yes, easy.
Fantastic. Oofed. It's definitely in my top 5 trilogies. Probably in the top 3, and I mean,
Yeah,
I think we're looking at what Back to the Future and like the Dark Knight trilogy, sort of fighting
and
alongside
this,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what we're looking at.
Because even
Here.
as much as I love Star Wars and that's like my brand, it's not a particularly tight trilogy.
Yeah,
So
Jedi kind of, it's still a pretty good movie, but it definitely dips.
yeah,
compared to the first
exactly.
two.
I mean, people love The Godfather. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah,
so,
but even most people who like but most people who like the Godfather hate the third one. But the third one's
Yeah.
typically seen as
So
the
I'm
weirdo.
just trying to see some of the other trilogies that just really The Man with No Name, but those are kind
Oh,
of
that'd be on my top 10, absolutely.
yeah. I'm just trying to go through trilogies off the top of my head, but this is definitely up there for
Yeah.
sure.
It's fantastic, and I know people are getting their comments shredded. They're typing away angrily. Like, what about Lord of the Rings? I think it's boring. I'm sorry, I don't like Lord of the Rings. Snooze
And
fest.
Return of the King has like 8 endings, so it's like pick one, stick with it, Peter Jackson. Don't even get me started on The Hobbit, which I never even finished.
Oh my
Peter
god,
told me about Dragon Fever.
that
So
that third Hobbit movie made me angry. It was such a waste of time.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, so that is War for the Planet of the Apes. We loved it.
Go see it.
We highly recommend it. Absolutely. I can't believe that I got a good Spider-Man movie last week, and then I got the Apes conclusion, and then next week we got a Nolan movie. Christopher Nolan's giving us a movie next week. Excellent.
And it's not 2.5 hours like I was expecting. It's his most manageable. I implore everybody to go look up someone put up the IMAX reels next to each other, and you see like Interstellar takes up the entire table. Dunkirk's like a third of that. So it's quite funny.
Tight thriller. The early sort of buzz is that it's very good, and they also said it plays with that narrative structure, which I'm excited about. I love a good narrative structure. Different, and obviously he made Memento, which is the most like out there narrative structure there is. It's going backwards
for sure. Also, anytime you can put Tom Hardy in a mask like that, I like it. So, seeing him as that pilot,
no one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
Plus, I like to make Pete do his Bane impression, just because it makes me laugh.
Pizza, really. But anyway, so that is War for the Apes. We thoroughly recommend it. So by all means, go check it out. But yeah, that is us. So let us know in the comments what you think of the movie and the trilogy as a whole. Let us know down there. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fudge for channel updates. If you want to support the channel and everything we do here, keep the movie reviews coming. Go over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. Check out some of the bonuses over there. But otherwise, guys, that is us. So thank you very much once again for watching. Keep watching movies, and we'll see you next time.